There no name. Human, live with Mr. Eli Roth. How are you, sir?
Good, man. Good.
Now, Eli, you're here for Hostel 2.
That's right.
We're going to talk about Hostel 2. We're actually going to start with Hostel 2. And I got to ask you, the 31st of May was the very first screening of the movie.
It was unbelievable. I'd been picturing that screening in my head for, just a little bit over a year. And it couldn't have gone better. The movie brought the house down. People were going crazy. But people were like, I even got a couple like, "Oh, bitch, please," those kind of reactions. People were like, "No, no," and screaming and cheering and applause, and even a couple of people were like left because it was too much in the middle of the film. Walkouts are actually a compliment in a horror film.
When you were filming Hostel 1, I mean, people across the board were at times offended, shocked. When did you conceive of Hostel 2?
Well, Hostel 1, one of the fun things about it was that we made it, I think the average Hollywood budget is $80 million. And we made Hostel, the budget started out at $3 million and ballooned to 3.8 by the end of it. So when we made it, it was like, they were thinking of it, they're like, okay, maybe we'll just put this straight to video. Nobody had any idea that it would even go into theaters. And then they showed it to a test audience and people were just going berserk. And, my hope was that it would go in theaters. And then it opened at #1 and it knocked Narnia out of the #1 spot. And so people were genuinely shocked. But the whole fun of the movie was making something so far under the radar so we could be as violent as we wanted. After seeing the reaction, it was so, mainstream. I thought, oh, my God, I got to, if I'm going to do a sequel, I got to do it right now. And I looked at my favorite sequels. I looked at, like, Aliens and Road Warrior. And I looked at, great sequels. Like, I thought Saw 2 was awesome and Devil's Rejects. And I said, you know what? I can make a better movie. I can really improve upon the first one. And I kind of took what I thought, I saw working the best parts of the first one and used that as the building blocks for the sequel.
When your parents see this film or your relatives, I mean, what do they say? Do they say, Eli, what happened?
No, they love it. It's funny because my parents are in the movie making some cameos, and my cousin came to the screening last night, and he loved it. I remember when my first film, Cabin Fever, I've seen where a girl shaves her legs off. And
sure.
My dad is a psychiatrist and professor at Harvard in the medical school, and my mother is an artist, and she paints abstract paintings. And they came to the set, and there's this girl in a bloody bathtub, a naked girl shaving her legs off. And my father, the psychoanalyst, is going, now, if you notice the way her skin is dissolving, it's the way the relationships of the characters are dissolving. And my mother's and my mom is like the artist going, look at the way the red of the blood mixes with the white of the shaving cream. It's really beautiful. And I'm just there going, look at her boobs, look at her boobs. So I think my parents were there during the shooting. They love it. They think it's so healthy.
Can we talk about The Girl Next Door? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about The Girl Next Door. Girl Next Door is this movie with Alicia Cuthbert. And, I remember after Cabin Fever came out, all the guys from Cabin Fever and the girls, they were like, yeah, we were auditioning for this movie, The Girl Next Door, about this girl who's like a porn star, lives next door to this guy, and there's one of the characters who really wants to be a porn director, and he knows everything about porn, and his name is Eli, and I gotta tell you, it is freaky, some of the dialogue, the things this kid says. I swear it's stuff that's come out of your mouth. It's stuff that you said. And I was like, well, who wrote it? And I looked at one of the writers, and one of the writers was best friends with my editor on Cabin Fever and had been stopping by the editing room every day just to say hi, chat, and just chit-chat, and then be like, hey, did you ever see this porn movie? And I'd be like, oh, man, because, I'm in the way I know horror, I considered myself at the time an expert in pornography, sadly. And suddenly I realized that everything he was writing was like going right into the script, and we banned him from the editing room.
Were you happy with how The Girl Next Door turned out?
I thought it was a terrible movie.
Oh,
I really did. Yeah, it was really bad. I was really bad. I was like, you know what? I've dated porn stars, and it's really not this fun. It's actually very depressing. I mean, this is like, like you're like 25, and you meet someone, and you think it's cool for a week, and then you realize that basically you're running a psychiatric hospital, and it's really sad, and it's really depressing.
All right, you know what? Let's stay on the theme of Cabin Fever. I heard Sex Fever came out as a result of Cabin Fever.
Yeah, Sex Fever. Someone on my crew was like, oh, I know Chloe, this porn director, and she came by the set. And I said, will you please I've always wanted to get the porn, like a porn parody of one of my films. And she's like, absolutely. And she directed the movie, but she didn't tell me she did it. And I was really upset because I wanted to make a cameo as the pizza guy. I wanted to be like, hey, anyone order the pizza with extra sausage? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's $20. Thank you. And leave. That was like my dream, was to have the director of the original movie make a cameo in the porn. And then I actually gave a copy of it to Peter Jackson and Quentin Tarantino, both of whom were so jealous that I had my own porn version until Drill Bill, starring Dirk Yates, came out. And I went to the gay theater in West Hollywood, and I actually paid the guy $15 for the poster, and I framed it, and I gave it to Quentin Tarantino, and he was actually in tears. He was so happy that not only was there a porn parody of one of his movies, it was a gay porn, and I got the original poster for it and gave it to him.
You definitely have a status in Hollywood now. A lot of people are calling you the future of horror. I know that's what Quentin Tarantino's calling you. How does it feel to have that kind of praise from such a legendary guy?
Well, I mean, obviously it feels great when someone says something like you're the future of horror, but there's a whole wave of us that really, really want to bring back horror to where it was in the 70s and make really scary, raw, hardcore, scary films and push the envelope and the boundaries of R-rated movies really as far as you can. It's one British journalist referred to us as the Splat Pack. And Tarantino's always like, man, you're the Sinatra of the Splat Pack. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm the Jerry Lewis. Trust me. Look, those are the only guys that can scare me. So I can't wait. When their movies come out, I see every one of their films opening day.
And you actually get scared when you see, like, Saw.
Saw totally tricked me both times. You know, I like Saw 1 and Saw 2 especially. I didn't see the twist coming, and I was like, hats off to those guys. Because I feel like I see everything coming every step of the way. So when a scare really gets me, I love it. I'm like, oh, man, good for them.
Do you see yourself ever making a fried green tomatoes or a terms of endearment or something light?
Yeah, you see, I think that, you know, Thanksgiving was like a romantic comedy. We had all it was a girl. You know, there's me receiving oral sex, and then my head gets decapitated in the middle of the act, and then there's a girl bouncing around stripping on a trampoline, and she does a split, and the knife comes up, and she lands on the knife. I mean, what more do you want? Go to my MySpace page or YouTube and check it out. It was the most fun I've ever had shooting anything like that.
Coming up.
I wanted to direct their movie New York Minute, but my agent said, quote, we don't want to be legally responsible for putting you on the same set as them.
Don't you move.